Well, it is the second day of Worlds Groups with coverage presented by Mobalytics. I'm joined right now by Jensen from Cloud9. All right, so first off, let's talk about yesterday, the 1 year anniversary of the clapping, and kind of repeated itself again with a two-man dive mid that I saw, and then somehow Faker ends up killing somebody. When you have to go up against SKT again, what is that experience like? Do you remember the past experiences, or what's it like having to face off against them?
I definitely remember the past experience, but I try to not think about it too much. I didn't really see it as too big of a deal, like going up against SKT and Faker again. I mean, they're probably like the best team, if not the second best team at Worlds. So it's definitely, I knew it was going to be tough. I actually thought we had a pretty okay shot at beating them. I think the game was going well early until we overcommitted for that dive in the mid lane. I think. I think it was right to go for the gank. I just think we overcommitted, and that's kind of why it went bad. But yeah, I mean, it's really weird when you play against these Korean teams. Like, if you just make one mistake, it just feels like the game is over. It just snowballs so hard. So it feels like for us to beat SKT, we kind of have to play like more or less flawlessly, or just avoid making big mistakes. But obviously, we had some pretty big mistakes, and then we lost the game.
Yeah. How did planes affect your ability to compete in groups? Like, was this actually helpful for you, or do you wish you had the time in Korea to boot camp? Like, what was planes' effect on you?
I would say it definitely affected our level of play, because since we went to China, we were not able to scrim teams that are in Korea. And I actually think that hurt us a lot, because we were stuck scrimming wildcard teams and Fnatic, basically. And when all the Worlds team did come over here, we had a pretty hard time playing against them, because their meta was very different from what we were used to. Just the whole play styles, like level ones, just everything was. It just felt like we had to like basically relearn what they were doing. So I think it was definitely a disadvantage. Although playing on stage, is always a good experience. But I think if we stayed in Korea, we would have came more prepared for the group stages and would have probably learned more.
I'm interested because today we had NA go 3-0, so that's great news for North American fans. The first two games were freaking ridiculous, all sorts of stuff. Your AHQ game, while it certainly had its moments, felt like a little bit more confident. Mm-hmm. Is that more on, like you guys just have a bigger skill gap against them? Is it just Cloud9 style of play? I mean, why do you think it is that we saw such a wildly different game?
I think it just has to do with the level of the teams. I think HQ can definitely be a top team if they play the style they're used to. I was a little confused. I didn't actually expect Westor to play Casio, and I don't think he knew how to play too well in lane either. Like, he was not really playing the lane. Like, it felt like I was playing as minions, basically. Like, there was no fighting, and I don't know. It just felt pretty weird. Like, I felt like I was just able to do whatever I wanted to in that game without really being pressured. So I think if HQ plays a different playstyle with Westo, which they usually do, I think it'll be a lot tougher. But I do think HQ is probably not as strong as the other teams that NA played against today. But at the same time, they beat EDG, who was #1 seed in China. So it's hard to say.
Yeah. How do you feel about the Worlds meta? Because basically everyone I've talked to seems to have some variation of polite, oh, I wish it was different, to like, I hate this ardent sensor thing. So for you guys, how do you feel about it?
It's kind of, I kind of feel the same way. Like, not too big a fan of ardent sensor. Also, I don't know. I feel like generally people will kind of like complain a little about the Worlds patches. It has historically always happened, I think. And I was the same way last year. I remember I was like, oh, I wish they didn't nerf this champion and that champion right before. And, this time around I was like, oh, I wish they didn't nerf like Casio and Oriana right before the NA playoffs patch, for example. So honestly, I think it's just about if you're able to adapt, then you'll be fine with it. But at the same time, it's a little boring that the support role is just about ardent sensor, because it's not really playmaking, and people want to see playmaking. So at the same time, I think it makes sense to complain a little bit about it.
Jensen, I think a lot of Western fans are feeling a little nervous, as we always do at Worlds. Certainly today's 3 NA games, 3 NA victories probably help everybody feel good. But if you had to make kind of like a bold prediction or a statement or something that would help you feel a little bit better or make the Western fans feel a little bit better, what would you say?
We are going to beat SKT next week.
Okay, there we go. There we go. I promised I wasn't fishing for a headline, but certainly that's probably going to be the headline. Anyway, thank you so much, Jensen. Anything you want to say to the fans?
Thanks for supporting us, and I hope we can do well, just like we did today.
Very good. Well, thank you so much for the interview. For everyone else, you can check out the rest of our coverage of all things Worlds right here on my YouTube channel. Hey, if you want to get as good as the pro that I just interviewed, please check out mobalytics.gg/Travis. They are all about helping you identify your personal strengths and weaknesses so that you can level up your game. And be sure to check out their giveaway, by the way. They're running it throughout Worlds. You can win some cool stuff. All that in the YouTube description below.